If you're struggling to get your CV noticed by employers and recruiters and you're not getting the responses and interviews you've been hoping for, then you should find this video really helpful because I'm going to run through 5 tips that will help you to get your CV noticed and start getting interviews for good jobs. If your job search is not currently going as planned and it feels like you're sending off hundreds of applications and never hearing anything back from companies, it can be very frustrating. But don't worry, because it's a very common problem, and in this video I'm going to share 5 things that you can start doing right now that will help you to improve your CV and improve the way that you communicate with recruiters and with employers, and that in turn is going to help you to get more responses from your applications and more job interviews. And all of this advice is based on my previous experience working as a recruiter. Tip number 1 on this list actually comes before you even write your CV, but it really is the foundation of a good job search, and that is to focus your job search to a specific job or a profession as much as you can, and really try to avoid the approach of applying for anything and everything you see online. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well look, I just really need a job at the moment, I don't care what it is, I just need to find work. And that's fine, I think we've all been in that position before, but I still think that even if you're in that situation, you'd still benefit from choosing 1 or maybe 2 types of job and really focusing all of your efforts and attention into them if you want to see the best results in the job market. The reasons for doing this is that it will simplify your job search and it will help you to look more attractive to recruiters. If you put yourselves into the shoes of a recruiter or an employer, they are usually looking for very specific skills and knowledge for any particular job they're recruiting for. And as a job seeker, you just need to show them that you have those qualities and you'll get an interview. So if you're applying for lots of very different jobs and you're packing your CV with lots of different unrelated skills, then you're never going to look perfect for any particular job and you will usually get overlooked. Because even if you have 1 or 2 of the right skills in your CV somewhere, recruiters might not notice them because they will be overwhelmed by all of the other things you've crammed into the CV. But if you choose a job type and you focus all of your efforts and all of your applications and your CV around that particular job and only apply to those jobs, you're much more likely to look suitable and be selected for interviews. And you may not be a perfect fit for those jobs right now, but you just need to try and make yourself look as perfect as possible on paper. It's very similar to how you would choose a product or a service as a consumer. Imagine you were going out for a meal and you wanted a really good Italian pasta. If you saw 2 restaurants, one was a chain pub that offers every type of meal under the sun. They have burgers, steaks, wings, but they also had a couple of pastas on the menu. But the other restaurant was an Italian restaurant who only did pasta dishes. Which one would you pick? You'd probably pick the Italian restaurant because you would assume that they are better at doing pasta because that's their main focus. Now the chain pub still has the meal that you want, but the Italian restaurant markets itself as being the best at pasta. So that will make you more likely to choose it if pasta is all you're looking for. So in your job search, you're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to sell yourself as being the best at the specific things that the employer is looking for that particular job. And you will also find that this makes the job search much easier for you. Once you've picked a job or a profession to focus your search around, you can then research those specific roles thoroughly by looking at job adverts, company websites, and finding out exactly what skills, what qualifications, and what experience the employers are looking for in those particular jobs. And this is going to help you to build a better CV by knowing exactly what keywords you need to put into it, and B, it's going to help you to identify anything you might be missing. For example, if you don't have a particular qualification that's needed, then maybe you could take an online course to get it. Or if you don't have some experience that's being asked for, then perhaps you could do some volunteering or some freelancing or even a personal project just to get a few weeks experience in that area that you can then put onto the CV. And all of these things are going to help you to strengthen your CV and look like a more suitable candidate. And if you're still unsure about the type of work you want to do, then you can of course just pick 2 or 3 different professions and create a different CV for each one. This way you can still keep your options open but focus your job search at the same time. Now before I move on to the second tip, if you're finding this video helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button to save it in your liked video playlist. And of course you can also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos that are geared around helping you land the jobs you want. The second tip to ensure that your CV gets noticed is to make it very, very easy to read. Most recruiters receive hundreds of CVs every day and they can't read them all in full because there just isn't enough time in the day. So what most of them do is they normally quickly run through their inbox and skim read every CV for a few seconds to pick out any CVs that appear to be relevant from first glance. And by doing this, they build a short list of suitable candidates that they will return to later to look at the CVs in more detail and start calling people to screen them and book interviews in. So in order to make it past this initial scan and make it onto that shortlist, you need to make it very easy for recruiters to navigate your CV and quickly find the information that they're looking for. And the way that you do this is through very, very simple formatting and layout. Now, I have lots of videos on the channel that can show you how to write a good CV, and I have lots of example CVs on the Standout CV website. I will, of course, put links to all of those in the description, but I'll just cover the basics of format and layout quickly here. Firstly, use a very clear font in a size that's big enough to read. Nothing too elaborate, and black text on a white background will create the easiest reading experience. Secondly, break the page up into clearly defined sections which are headed with big, bold titles. And this is what really allows recruiters to navigate the page quickly and quickly pinpoint what it is they're looking for. Thirdly, break up all of the text into bullet points and short paragraphs. This makes the information much more digestible than having long, big, unbroken paragraphs spread across the page. Then when it comes to the actual layout, I would recommend breaking the CV up into the following sections to give recruiters the information that they're usually looking for. Start with your name and contact details at the top, then add a profile, which is an introductory paragraph like this. Then a core skills section, which is a bullet pointed list of your most important skills. Then list your work experience, which can also include voluntary work or school work placements if you have no actual work experience. Then your education, and then you can add hobbies and interests at the end here, but only if they are relevant to your target jobs. The only exception to the above is that if you're a student or school leaver with no relevant experience to the jobs you're applying for, then I would put your education above your work experience, because you'll probably have more attractive information in that education section, so you want to make sure that that gets seen first. The third tip on this list is to tailor the top quarter of your CV. And what I mean by the top quarter of your CV is the section here, and the reason that this section is so important is because it is the first thing that anybody will see when they open up your CV. And as I mentioned earlier, recruiters see lots of CVs every day and they are very pushed for time. So often if they open up a CV and they don't see any of the skills or experience that they're looking for in that top quarter, then they will often close the CV down and move straight on to the next one in their inbox. And if you're hiding all of the important information under this top quarter, then it might not even get seen by some recruiters. And that's obviously going to result in you missing out on jobs that you should be at least getting called back about. So I would recommend that when writing your CV, focus a lot of time and effort on this top quarter and ensure that you pack it with all of the most essential skills and knowledge that are being asked for in the jobs that you're targeting. And that's going to ensure that your CV grabs the attention of recruiters, gets them excited, and encourages them to keep reading the rest of the CV. And to take this one step further and make yourself look highly suitable for every job you're applying to, you can edit your core skills section every time you apply for a job. And you do this to reflect the most important skills for each individual job you're applying for. This is only going to take 1 or 2 minutes to do each time, but it's going to have a big positive impact when it comes to making a good first impression. And it's going to mean that your CV gets noticed more and gets more responses, which is going to lead to more interviews. Tip number 4 on this list is to write a unique cover note every time you apply for a job. Cover notes or cover letters are essentially a short message that you write to recruiters when applying to jobs, to introduce yourself, to build some rapport, and to encourage them to look at your CV. Cover notes are hugely overlooked by most job seekers, but they can have a big impact when it comes to getting your CV noticed. And to understand why this is, again, it helps to look at things from the recruiter's perspective. This is a typical recruiter's inbox full of job applications, and as you can see, they all look the same. This is because most people apply for jobs through job websites, and most websites nowadays provide a pre-written cover letter. And when you're applying for lots and lots of jobs, it's very easy and convenient just to click send and use those pre-written messages. However, when you do that, you won't stand out amongst all the other candidates applying. A better approach to take, especially when you're doing a more targeted job search, is to write a unique cover letter every time you apply for a job. This will of course take you a bit longer each time, but it's better to send one good job application than hundreds of bad ones. Now, I have a detailed video on how to write a cover letter, plus lots of example cover letters on the Standout CV website. I'll put links to those below, but the fundamentals of writing a good cover letter are as follows. Start with a personal greeting to start building rapport with the recruiter, and if possible, try to find the recruiter's name. You can do this by looking on company websites or tracking them down on LinkedIn. In fact, if you can find the recruiter's direct email address on their website, then email them directly, because you'll be much more likely to get straight through to them and get a response. Explain why you're suitable for the job by giving a brief overview of your suitability, because that is ultimately what is going to encourage them to open your CV. Explain why you're interested in the role and how soon you could potentially start a new job, because recruiters will always want to know those two things, and if you can tell them those two things up front, that's going to help them out and make you look more proactive. And lastly, just sign off with a professional looking signature. The fifth tip on this list is to follow up on your applications when you don't hear anything back. As I've mentioned a couple of times in this video already, recruiters and employers see hundreds of CVs a day, and sometimes they may see thousands of CVs in a week. And unfortunately, this means that sometimes even good applications will get missed, and occasionally this could include one of yours. So if you haven't heard back from a job application within a week or so, sometimes a quick, polite follow-up email will be just enough to put you back on the radar, give you a second chance at getting the recruiter's attention and getting a response from them. Of course, it won't work every time, but if you do it consistently, you will get some responses, and the more responses you get, the higher your chances of getting an interview will be. The first step to doing this is getting organised by creating a spreadsheet to record all of your job applications in, along with dates, contact details, and all of the job information. You can actually download a free job application tracker spreadsheet from the Standout CV website. I'll put a link to that in the description below. So once you've downloaded that, just start recording all of your job applications in it and keeping track of everything that happens with them. Time-wise, I'd say it's okay to follow up on any job application after a week of not hearing from them. Anything sooner might seem a bit pushy, but just use your own judgment. And of course, if there is any information on the job advert telling you not to follow up before a certain date, then make sure you always follow that advice. Now that brings me to the end of the video. I really hope that you found it helpful. If you're looking for more advice on how to create an effective CV and land a job that you really want, then check out some more of the videos on the YouTube channel here and some of the guides over on the Standout CV website. Thanks for watching, and best of luck with your job search.